Welcome to Allies or Enemies. I'm Jess.
And I am Sean, and today we are talking about a few of our favorite games that we just played at the UK Gaming Expo up in Birmingham. It was just last weekend, and there are a bunch of cool things that we got to try out.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest convention that happens here in the UK, and so there were just tons of different types of board games, lots of publishers, lots of open gaming, and lots of great games to try. And a lot of them are ones that have maybe been out for a while, but there are also a bunch that are coming out or are brand new too.
I think pretty much all the ones we're talking about are either just came out or just about to come out, although we are cheating with a couple of them, but we'll get to those. But these are all games we're very excited about, so let's just jump right into it.
The first game we want to talk about was First Rat, and this was one I was keeping my eyes out for during the convention because I had heard a lot of talk about it beforehand, and so I was really excited when there was an opportunity to play it. And it looks really simple because it's just this one track that you move your rats along until they get to the spaceship. Obviously, It's space rats, but along the way you're collecting resources. But it's interesting because you can move one rat 5 spaces, or you can move kind of all the rats that you have out up to 3 spaces. So you can actually do these really great combos once you have all your rats out.
It really does have these interesting combos because you're moving this light bulb around, and then that gives you extra resources, and you're moving this little mini rat, and there's also a little kind of collection thing. And then when you add in kind of to the full game, there's also these like super rats that are these really satisfying little cardboard things you put into your rat. And we had this wonderful experience too where we were learning it, and we had some questions, and the designer happened to just like walk by and help us out. That's one of those great things that can happen at a board game convention. But we played it, we immediately bought it, and this was really the belle of the ball, I think.
Yeah, I think this ended up being the favorite game that we played and that we purchased at the convention. And so that's First Rat.
Our next one is Jurassic Park Unmatched. And so if you've watched the channel at all, you know we like Unmatched a lot. We've done a big video reviewing all of the Unmatched. And we like dinosaurs a lot. And this has got a giant T-Rex. He's like 5 times the size of any of the other ones. And they've been kind of teasing this a bit. Right from the first rule books, there were these rules about giant figures. And it's been like, oh, when are they going to have a giant figure? And they finally did it, and he's awesome. And it's the T-Rex versus Dr. Statler, along with Ian Malcolm, who's looking very sexy on the cards as well.
Yeah, and if you get the Target exclusive, you actually get the Malcolm figure, but ours didn't come with that. But it's still great. And so far when we've played it, we originally thought that the T-Rex would be way overpowered because it's a T-Rex. But so far, Dr. Sattler has won our first couple of games, so she's pretty strong too.
She's surprisingly excellent in this.
Yeah, and it's funny because after our last Unmatched, we're like, oh, maybe we won't buy any more because we have quite a big selection. We don't play it as often as we maybe should. And then as soon as we saw this, we immediately picked it up.
Oh yeah, no, there's a T-Rex in it. There's just no question. This was a no-brainer, and a lot of fun to have. The giant T-Rex is so worth it.
The next game is one we didn't purchase, and that's because our friends that we brought along to the board game convention bought it, so we can just play it at their place.
Well, we didn't. They came of their own accord.
Yeah, I suppose so. They have their own choosing. And that is Akropolis. And so it was at the Hachette board game stand, and they always have some great games there. And it is a tile placement game based on building a city, and the different parts of your city score for different points. It looks really nice, and it has an interesting element of not only building your city out, but also building it up as well.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like a 3D King Domino. But that is a little bit tricky because it has this like really important difference in that there are scoring tiles and there are city tiles, and they do not need to be connected, and it's very hard to get your head around that. And the different kinds of city tiles score differently, so some have to be on the outside, some have to be surrounded, and it's just super like simple but super fun, and very much kind of King Domino meets Llama Land in all the best ways.
Yeah, we had a great time playing it because scores were pretty close until we got to the last line, and we didn't realize this whole time that Sean was the only one collecting trees, and he got like over 100 points and blew us out of the water with that.
Yeah, the park tiles, it turns out, can really add up the points if no one else. You kind of have to watch the other players to make sure that they can't get all of something. And they had kind of quietly, they'd left me to get these. So I was like, oh, 0, 0, 0, 132. And it felt like a fun little mic drop for sure. So I'd mentioned that one of them we were kind of cheating on, and that is this. Obviously, Terra Mystica has been out for quite a while, but this was the big box edition, and we didn't have Terra Mystica. We've got Gaia Project, which is one of my absolute favorite games. And I know that Terra Mystica is the original, but we've never bothered. But when they had the big box and we felt like now we can play with all the expansions and with the Atoma, it felt like it was time to get it, and this is packed.
Yeah, and we weren't sure originally because everyone says if you mostly play 2 players, Gaia Project is the way to go.
Which is true.
Which is true. And I think you were shocked by how similar Terra Mystica is because they are very much, very similar games. But this one has a lot. I love the different factions for this and their different powers too. And we've only just touched the surface because it comes with a couple of expansions in it too that we haven't played.
Yeah, 2 of the expansions, tons of races, so really excited to explore this. And when we're talking big boxes as well, we also just picked up Ultimate Railroads, although we're kind of cheating because this was just like the day before we left. But we thought, since we're talking about big boxes, and holy cow, Ultimate Railroads is like, we've only played it 3 times, I think, but right now it's a top 10 game for me. I love this game.
It is not what we expected because we had heard about Russian railroads and some of the other ones as well. But I thought it was actually going to be a railroad game where you have a map and you are putting down railroads, and it is not that. It's a track game and just the combos that you can do and the different avenues that you can explore. Like we're having a lot of fun kind of just trying different ways to go up and seeing what happens. Yeah,
you really gotta, it's a really abstracted Euro version of a railroad game, and you really gotta focus on something. And neither of us are great at focusing, so it's been interesting, but it has knocked my socks right off. I am literally not wearing socks right now, and it's because of this game.
We also picked up Creatured Comforts, and I was just sold on really the look of it. It looks amazing, and we didn't get the Kickstarter version, so we just have the plain components. But even with that, the art on it is really neat, and it plays really well too in terms of it's more friendly than your typical worker placement. There isn't any taking of spots, but you each get 2 dice that you roll, and then you put out your 4 workers, and then you roll kind of this group dice. And then based on those results, it might mean whether you can resolve all your worker actions or not. And it's been really fun to kind of be like, oh, I'm gonna hope for this dice roll to show up.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's made by Kids Table Board Games. I think a lot of folks, and because it looks like a kids game and it plays well for kids, I think a lot of folks just want to put it right into that kids category. But I think there is enough meat in here for adults as well. Like, we've really enjoyed this, and it is simple for sure, but even still, there is a rewarding puzzle. It is a solid dice placement game, and the adorableness, that adds a lot to it as well. Who doesn't love forest creatures?
And I love that you're just collecting your own comfort. So you're collecting board games and candles and toboggans and that kind of thing is basically what you're doing the whole game. So it's lovely.
Our next one is another one we didn't end up picking up, but we did really enjoy the demo of, and that is Sub-Terra 2. And we hadn't played the first Sub-Terra, so we don't know how they compare. But Sub-Terra 2 was a really interesting kind of asymmetrical dungeon crawler where you've got a choice of I think it was 10 or 12 different characters.
Oh, I can't remember.
But we were playing 2 each, and they all played really different. And you got to get these keys, get them to this place, and then run out before the lava kills you all. And it was tough. We have 1 survivor, I think.
Yeah, and it's a really nice one to play, I think, with a group of people. I mean, we did play two characters each, and that did work because it's really simple decisions on your turn. There's only two things you can do. So often one of those is moving, one of those might be killing a bad guy. But with the kind of simple system, it is interesting how much the different player powers really were still felt. Like I had one person who just stayed back and kind of commanded everybody, and another one that was very much like getting in the long ways to shoot people. So you really felt those differences.
Yeah, my stealthy guy was very fun, who could like sneak into trap rooms and not have them set off the trap. But it's got this really cool thing where there's these bad guys chasing you, and there's also traps, and it's this just super dangerous volcano. I don't know why this treasure's in this volcano, but it was fun. I feel like we didn't totally get it till the end. I'd be interested to play it again for sure.
Yeah, I would want to give it another try. Our next game is Dice Theme Park, and this is one that we purchased as soon as we got to the convention. We really like Dice Hospital, and we really like theme parks, so we wanted a game that combined two of those things. What we didn't realize is this is a different designer than Dice Hospital, and it really does play fairly differently. You still have the beginning part where you draft your dice and they go on your board. In this case, though, they all start at the park entrance. So you have to plan a little bit ahead in terms of how your dice even start moving right out of the gate.
Yeah, it's almost like the opposite, because in Dice Hospital, they started all in different rooms and you had to raise them up and then take them to the entrance. Here, they start at their highest point at the entrance and you've got to lower them down and get like squeeze all the fun out of them until they get like pooped and have to go home, and get them to ride as many rides as you can. And it is an interesting little puzzle, but I definitely found the first time we played it, we started off playing with everything. And we were like, I don't know, I think we were a little unsure of it and maybe just a little bit surprised at how different it was from Dice Hospital. But when we played it a second time with just like the simplified version, it felt really smooth that way.
Yeah, and it was only 4 rounds, and I preferred that. Having to try and build that engine and do that over the 4 rounds, it just felt like a better fit for the type of game it is.
Felt like a really interesting, tight challenge. It took a nice amount of time, and yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how we feel about this after 5 or 6 or 7 plays. Our final one is one I very specifically was interested in, and that is Final Girl. And we don't have it, and that is much to my dismay because we missed out. Apparently they sold out of the ones that they had in an hour. So I will probably be backing it on the Kickstarter because we played it, even though it's a solo game, we played it together, and it was a really fun experience.
Yeah, it is all a horror theme based, which is not a genre I'm a big fan of. It's one that you absolutely love.
I adore it.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the mechanics, and I think we made a great team. It was the two of us making the decisions together because it's basically this time track, and so you have to decide what actions you want to do, but that time track also dictates kind of what new actions you get through the cards that you play. And so trying to figure that all out really was an interesting puzzle. And we ended up beating the bad guy.
Yeah, which was fun. Actually, we did very well against the bad guy.
I think so.
But the time track's really cool because it's both, you've got your group of cards, and as you play them, each one takes so much time. But however much time you have left goes towards cards that you can buy for the next time. And any cards you play, you have to put back into that pile and rebuy for future turns. So it's this really interesting kind of push-pull. And yeah, it was definitely a different game than I expected, but probably a cooler game than I expected.
Yeah, the mechanics were a lot more interesting than I was expecting, and the look is amazing. The fact that they all look like VHS tapes and how it fits together is like these magnets for the board and the player boards is an incredible package.
And that is it.
So those were the games that we played at the Game Expo that are soon to be released or newly released that we wanted to share with you, from First Rat to Final Girl.
And those were all games. We did play a few more, but we just wanted to talk about the ones that really, tickled our fancy a little bit more, and the ones that we did pick up as well. And it was really a terrific gaming expo. And if you haven't been to it, definitely check it out next year.
And if you have been to it, please let us know in the comments. Let us know what your favorite games you played there were too. We would love to hear about them. And as usual, please like, subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you for the next one.